When we're live from around the world, it's Saturday night with Ricefield Records and Uncle Dan the Vinyl Man, bringing you the somethingest in vinyl community news. Yeah, well,
very nice, very nice.
Big week and big sad week in the rock and roll world.
Many deaths.
Yeah, and one that hit me in particular, Robbie Robertson of the band.
Yes.
To my mind, one of the very finest guitarists of the rock era.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Last Waltz, Robertson smokes Clapton in there, and Clapton's playing well. Clapton always played better when he had somebody to push him, but Robertson smokes him. But Robertson, like his fellow Canadian, Mr. Neil Young, Robertson played stuff that was unique. I mean, he wasn't just Clapton was playing Freddie King and T-Bone Walker and BB and some Chuck Berry. He some Albert King. He was throwing that stuff. He was pulling that stuff together and then making it. And I'll say he played a lot of it quite well, but a lot of it was very derivative. Robbie Robertson was not that way.
What was unique about Robertson's playing style?
Oh, his he was not just going. I don't know. It's just he wasn't hitting for the. He just wasn't hitting the cliches, and it wasn't all the stuff that like I do, which falls out of the box, the blues box, and shit like that. That's all I can do. And Robertson, Robbie was playing stuff that it was without it being at all jazz inflected. He was playing stuff out of other places there. Really, some interesting timing and tempo stuff too. But he got into the heart of the stuff, and that was the story is that. Music from Big Pink came out, and that it just floored Clapton.
Clapton sought them out, right? Clapton went to their house.
Yeah, Clapton. The legend is that Clapton asked to join the band.
Really?
Yeah, and
that worked out too well.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you think about it. It's like, well, yeah, no, Eric, it's just,
yeah, I don't see Eric and Garth Hudson hanging out together.
Yeah, no, although I'm sure Garth seems like, one of the nicest guys in the world, and I'm sure he'd be, perfectly pleasant to be around. But, Eric and Levon, I don't know, would have gotten along all that well. But yeah, and Robbie Robertson, wrote, look, he wrote, I think, two of the best songs of the rock era in The Wait,
yeah,
The Wait and The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Those are great, great songs. Now, I will say that in The Wait, to me, there's no doubt that he was channeling Bob Dylan. And I will also say that without Dylan, the band would have been would never have been the band.
Yep.
It would have had some other name, and it would never have, would never achieved what it did. I mean, Dylan took them to school in Woodstock. We got Bobby.
Hold on. Oops. Hello.
Bobby, we're talking the band and Robbie Robertson.
Yeah, that's the one album I can never seem to get a good copy of. All of my copies are beat to shit.
Yeah. Well,
which is the song that Richard Manuel sings on the last waltz. They give him an opportunity. He doesn't sing many solos on the last waltz, and it's from music from Big Pink. It might be We Can Talk.
I have the last waltz on record. It's like a 3-record set, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a DVD of it. That was like the second DVD I bought. The first DVD I bought, I got a DVD player, and the first DVD I bought was a Spinal Tap.
Yeah, hold on. Let me grab my band stuff.
But yeah, we'll just. Back. So yeah,
The last waltz. This is a great one.
Great record.
Yep. It's got all those things in it.
It's an odd group of performers, right? You've got Neil Diamond.
Wyoming Dave is here.
Yeah. The problem is that, I mean, if you've seen that movie, Scorsese does it, doesn't he?
Scorsese directed, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of from Robertson's perspective, and it makes Robertson look more of an asshole than he is. I mean, he is a little bit of a prick, but that movie is more like, catered towards, like, I mean, you guys have seen it, right?
Levon called him Scorsese.
Yeah.
He wanted, he wanted to, sell something there, and so and Levon was,
Well, I felt it was devoted to Bill Graham more so than the band, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the venue was closing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, like, Robertson, yeah, he's a bit of a prick, but also you got to realize, I mean, everybody in that band at that time, was fucked up on drugs and really, like,
Yeah,
and,
they said, Scorsese, allegedly just had like bowls of cocaine sitting around.
Bowls
Right.
Of what?
Yeah.
Of what?
Bowls of coke, bowls of cocaine. No,
Did not know that.
yeah,
No, and Robertson wasn't really into drugs, right?
yeah. Robertson was clean. It was cleaner than that. I don't know how much he ever did. Of course, he's
He drank, but he wasn't really he wasn't really a drug guy.
no, yeah. But he stayed cleaner than the rest of them, and the rest of them got were pretty strung out for a while, and he was kind of pissed about it, and he so.
Robbie
Yeah,
Scorsese.
that's right. Robbie worked with a bunch with Scorsese over the years. Did The Irishman, and did a whole bunch of stuff with Scorsese.
That Departed was a good movie, but it didn't deserve a fucking Oscar. I mean, it wasn't that good. You know what I mean? You guys saw The Departed, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's great movie, but not I mean, but it was Scorsese, and so
You got it. Yep.
yeah. Yeah, but Robertson was, I mean, the band was, the band, I don't know. I love, and I know this is a little shallow, but I love Creedence. Thought Creedence did some great stuff. And they're very roots, but I'm a roots guy. That's why, I love roots stuff. And the band was, the band stuff was much more roots. They call Big Pink the first music from Big Pink. I disagree, but they call it the first Americana album. I think that John Wesley Harding is the first.
That's the first Americana record.
John Wesley Harding?
No, this is the band's second record. I mean, of the first two records, I mean, this one was a commercial breakthrough.
Yeah, that's the one with Up on Cripple Creek, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the way
they drove Old Dixie down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robertson wrote that fucking song, didn't he?
Yeah. Robertson wrote The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down.
The green label, the OG.
Yeah, I don't have the. I don't have that. This is one I bought in.
So what? You have the purple label, the capital purple.
Yeah, what have I got here?
Oh, you got the orange label.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're good sounding. A lot of the.
I bought this in like 80,
Yeah.
81. I played the hell out of that.
Yeah, like I told you, like before when we were talking, the band's first 2 records, I have played them to freaking shame, where I've had to buy multiple copies of them over again because the first 2 are just they're great. I mean,
Yeah.
but
this one is weird, right? This is the third.
Yeah,
and this was produced by. Do we know who? Todd Rundgren. I don't get Todd Rundgren working with the band, but he was sent there. I guess Bearsville Records was nearby,
yeah,
and he worked with them. It's kind of like, it's not like the first 2. There's not every song is not great.
yeah.
No.
Oh, he was the engineer, not the producer. My mistake.
Yeah. I also have an anthology of the band, which is this is a cool thing. It's got like, basically all the stuff. It's a 4-record set or whatever. It's cool. What else do I have by them? And there's the classic, the best of the band that everybody has.
I don't have that on vinyl.
They didn't have hits after Stage Fright, right? I mean, you really can't.
No, I don't think so.
Major breakthrough, commercially popular songs after Stage Fright.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's definitely right.
The Shape I'm In, W.S. Walcott Medicine Show, The Rumor, and after that, they made a lot of records.
I love them. I mean, a lot of people give me shit, say that the band's too redneck, but they got more than that. I mean, they got redneck sound, but they also got a lot of other influences in their mix.
Redneck?
Yes, that's what everybody says, and I don't get it. The band to me, I mean, I grew up on the band. I freaking was watching the freaking Last Waltz, you know what I mean, when I was a kid. I loved it.
Well, I mean, I was born on a cotton farm, so it's like, yeah, that's, that ain't redneck.
Par for the course, right?
No, that's upscale. I mean, that's upscale to me, man. The redneck is Ronnie Hawkins, with whom they got their start, right?
I mean, but you guys were telling me that the band started off with fucking Dylan, right?
Yes, they were Dylan's back.
And they were touring with Ronnie Hawkins.
Yeah.
And then they went out on their own. They had a couple little things out, and then Dylan approached them.
Yeah. Did you guys hear the freaking story that Robertson told about when Bob Dylan was supposed to meet the Beatles?
No.
You didn't hear that one?
That's right.
Oh God, it's freaking horrific.
I've heard all this stuff. I've watched a whole bunch of interviews with Robertson over the years.
Yeah, he said that Bob was so fucked up on heroin that he had to put him in an ice bath or whatever like that. And he was telling the Beatles, "Oh, Bob's just freshening up right now," because he was embarrassed. He didn't want them to see him in that condition or whatever. But I guess Bob Dylan was a fucking mess, and I didn't know Bob Dylan was into heroin.
Me neither. Dan,
it didn't last all that long though.
Yeah.
And I think, after the famous motorcycle wreck, I don't know that he was, he may have been doing some stuff, but he kind of cleaned up then. And Sarah Lowndes may have cleaned him up some too.
But he had a drug problem before? Because I didn't I don't
know that he had a real drug problem. He was just using.
He played with fire a little bit.
I think that's more what was going on with Dylan. He messed around some, and then and I don't think he ever got. My impression is he didn't get too deep into it. Like
Levon Helm, fucking deep.
Yeah, Levon got pretty messed up. which is said Levon had one of the great voices.
Yeah.
Of course, it's it sounds like down home. I mean, he grew up not far from where I grew up, so that
Really,
yeah, he's out of Arkansas, and I grew up in southeast Missouri, and there's a state border there, and but there's no cultural difference.
yeah.
He had a great solo career too.
Yeah,
much more success. Probably the most successful solo career of all of them.
Well, Robertson did.
Davis Staples. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Robertson did.
Robertson had a few. I think he had one decent solo album that I like.
The self-titled one. It's great. Produced by Daniel Lanois. I used to own it. It's a great record.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, the thing I think though is that Robertson was an integral part of the band, and they really did. Along with Dylan, really did. Transform rock there. I mean, just as Dylan fucked everybody up. I mean, he came along and he messed up people like Sam Cooke, who was like listened to Blowing in the Wind and was like, this is amazing. A black man should have written this, or an African American should have written this. Black person should have written this.
But that's what like the Dylan haters will always freaking say. They'll always say that he's a great songwriter, but everybody did his songs better than he did.
Yeah, man.
I don't agree with that, but that's what all the Dylan haters say.
Yeah, no, and they'll say, "Oh, Jimmy did," along the Watchtower, and there's no doubt. I mean, like Jimmy's hair, Jimmy did, Jimmy was doing his hair to look like Dylan's hair.
Right?
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He loved his fucking hair.
He loved Dylan's hair. He loved Dylan's hair. That iconic poster of Dylan. Which we had when I was a kid. I was up on
Milton Glaser, the one with the rainbow, done by Milton Glaser. Sure.
Yeah. That that's one of the great damn posters of the rock era, right? And Jimmy loved that. He saw that and he was like, man, Dylan's hair is so great. But Dylan, I mean, Robbie Robertson tells the story. What does Wyoming Dave say there?
He said, really? Now that I did not know.
Yeah. Robbie tells the story that, Dylan, he went to see Dylan, and Dylan was recording, had just recorded or like a Rolling Stone, like the day before. And Robbie went in the studio, and Dylan said, hey, you want to hear this? This isn't like anything you've ever heard before. And he played it, and Robbie said, man, it was like nothing I ever heard before. So, but then, Dylan took, when they were at Big Pink, when they were at Woodstock, Dylan took him to school. He was going in, he was taking stuff in, and, the guys say this, and Robbie said this, Dylan would come in every day, and he'd have a stack of like old sheet music, or he'd have a stack of old 78s, and he'd say, you got to hear this, you got to hear this. Yeah. You come in and be, like he was just teaching them all that stuff. And so if you go back, if you listen to those basement tapes, the complete basement tapes, you can hear, Dylan's just teaching them all this stuff. And that became, that's where, John Wesley Harding, although the band didn't play with him on John Wesley Harding, but John Wesley Harding came out of that, and music from Big Pink, and then the band, the self-titled one.
You're a huge Dylan fan, aren't you, Dan?
I love Dylan. I think Dylan, and somewhere I saw somebody say this. They say, there are people who are inevitable in history, and then there are people who aren't. Like Einstein was inevitable. Dylan was not inevitable.
Right.
Dylan was, Dylan came along, and we did not have to have a Dylan, and he came along and changed every fucking thing.
Yeah, well, you can't tell the fucking story of rock and roll without Bob Dylan.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't. You can't.
And you say, well, the Beatles, but the Beatles came along, and they, first they were doing, they were doing pop, and pop
They
and
were doing skiffle music, right? That
skiffle
was
music. They, you
Yeah,
know,
but see, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when you want to talk about the greatest songwriters of our of that generation, it's Bob Dylan and it's Paul McCartney, John Lennon. Those are the names that fucking come up. And you could argue one's better than the other, but I mean,
I argue that Dylan. You know, I don't think you know, I don't think they ever wrote anything close to Dylan's great songs, and they tried. You know,
well, the Beatles, if you follow Billboard's bullshit, they wrote way more #1 hits than fucking Dylan.
Oh yeah, they did.
They smoked them, you know. But if you're talking about better songs,
and I agree with that, but you know, the stuff was more popular. But you know, I mean, fuck, you know, look at all the stuff Britney Spears has sold.
correct, yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, that
you know, and Prince was good. But you know, I mean, Prince, I don't think was, you know, I don't think he belongs in the same class as Dylan. You know, he sold way more than Dylan ever sold. But yeah, Britney Spears probably outsold Dylan. I'll bet Miley Cyrus has outsold Dylan.
Well, I'm not like, you know, talking necessarily outsold. I'm just talking about like necessarily like obviously good songs that, you know, were like populous. The Beatles, I mean, they're freaking not talking sales, but they're songs that are like known throughout the world. They're just
they had, you know, there's no doubt some great stuff. But I don't, you know, nothing, man, like a Rolling Stone, things like that. You know, Positively 4th Street, you know, Subterranean Homesick Blues. You know, man, just, you know, I mean, stuff that's just like, damn, just otherworldly.
I mean, I love them both, and I won't pick a favorite
Desolation Row. I mean, like Desolation Row. God damn, what a song.
I mean, Paul McCartney fucking came out with some great songs too that are just as beautiful. And the Beatle that nobody fucking talks about is George Harrison.
Well, I actually like George Harrison better.
Yeah, I mean, most of my favorite songs from the Beatles, it's George Harrison's lead.
Those are my favorite songs. And the only post Beatles thing I have by any of them is Harrison's "All Things Must Pass."
Yeah, it's great.
I love George Harrison. I mean, like
George Harrison, and of course, then you know, I mean, then he was in the most super of super groups with Dylan, right?
Yeah.
I mean the Wilburys, Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah.
What you know, and they, you know, they put together, but you know, damn, you get Dylan. You know, once you get Dylan and Harrison in, you say, okay, that's the biggest super group ever. Oh, let's put Roy Orbison in, one of the greatest voices of all time and a great songwriter. Oh, and let's to put Tom Petty in just for the fucking hell of it.
Yeah, the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah, and it sounded like they just had a ton of fun together.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and it's so great. You know, the first one comes out and it's volume 2.
Yeah. It's funny though, like a lot of people, like, you know, they say like they don't know George Harrison really never did shit after the Beatles. Yes, he did. He had tons of hits. You know all the hits, but you don't know them. You know what I mean? Because
well, friends, we're going to take on a guest today.
A guest,
a seasoned live stream participant, a man,
outstanding
man who has cut his teeth on George Borden's live stream, and Rachel's Ghost, and a host of others. From Wyoming, I give you Wyoming Dave.
How are you guys?
Can we hear you okay? Can we hear you? Let me hear your voice. Let me hear your voice.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you hear you?
We got you, Dave.
Okay.
A little louder.
Hey, howdy.
No, not your voice, the mic. Okay, we're talking Robbie Robertson.
The band.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're down to Garth, man. Just good old Garth.
Garth Hudson. What's his last name? Hudson?
Garth Hudson, yeah.
Garth
Yeah,
Hudson.
the band. I know who they are.
Yeah.
How many of them are fucking still alive, though, is the question.
I think just Garth Hudson is still alive.
Just
Let
Garth.
me tell you who's still alive.
Garth.
That's it, right?
Remember either. Mhm.
You know, I think it's Garth. I think what's his face? Pretty Boy. What's the Pretty Boy's name?
Rick Danko died a long time.
A long time ago. Danko died a long time ago.
Richard Manuel died.
Yeah.
Richard, I always forget which one of them. I think Rick Danko committed suicide, and Richard Manuel died in '98, something like that.
Drug overdose. One was suicide, one was drug overdose, I think.
Yeah, I think Rick Danko died of suicide, and I think Richard Manuel died of a drug overdose in '98, '99, or a lifetime of drugs. One of the two.
We all can't beat Keith Richards.
Yeah, I got the same 3 albums actually.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's great.
Music from Big Pink, one of the great albums.
Got the original Capitol Rainbow.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I got this one too. I love this one.
I fucking love that record. That is so great.
It's not the original lime green. It's a 70s.
It's the orange, the same one Dan has. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same record.
That one too.
For some reason, I don't know what it is with the band's music, but the band's music wasn't like hi-fi material. It doesn't, you know what I mean? For some reason, it.
No, it's like
because young people didn't have audiophile gear. Their dads had audiophile gear.
Yeah, but you listen to the stuff like when you try to play it, it doesn't come out like if you listen to jazz or anything. It's not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it had always a rough-hewn quality to it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things about like the Basement Tapes that makes the Basement Tapes so amazing. I mean, it's just like, the Basement Tapes is obviously all that stuff off the Basement Tapes was, pretty crudely recorded, but it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as like Creedence. Like Creedence, you aren't going to freaking say, "Oh, this Creedence record sounds phenomenal," or this.
Yeah, I know. There was a real rough approach to it, and maybe I'll that will I got here's a new acquisition.
Let me see. Hold on. Yeah.
Origins of American Primitive Guitar. With Sylvester Weaver.
Sylvester Weaver.
Riley Puckett, Lemuel Turner, Frank. Just big names in early stuff, and of course this was all recorded acoustically. It was recorded, it was recorded onto wax discs, and then without. I don't think any of it was recorded with electric mics.
Is this 1920s?
Yeah.
Wow.
So and then they have to take them off 78s, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to sound, it's not going to be pristine at all.
No.
But this is great freaking stuff. You listen to it and it's like, this is great. And they did this label, and I haven't looked it up, Tompkins Square, but they did a really good job on here, and they cleaned it up. They got as clean as I think you can get.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like it's just like Charlie Parker's music. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to get it to sound great, especially off wax discs and stuff as the master tape, because that's what their masters are.
It's true, Bobby.
Yeah, their masters were wax discs.
Yeah,
and Charlie Parker was probably some of that stuff was cut to wax, but some of it was cut. Some of it was recorded to tape. But still, I mean,
it's 50s stuff, but that's he was almost fucking dead in the 50s, wasn't he? He didn't make it into the 60s, did he?
I don't think so. I think he died by then.
Yeah.
And he was, he was pretty wasted too in the 50s even.
Yeah, that's a great movie. If you ever freaking see the movie with Forrest Whitaker plays Bird.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I need to because I fucking love Forrest Whitaker. Oh, damn, one of the geniuses.
The audiophile stuff didn't really happen until Dire Straits and Alan Parsons Project, right? I mean, talking about,
Yeah, it depends. Some of the freaking Blue Note shit sounds freaking phenomenal. That was cut in the 50s.
Yeah, and there was what?
Say what?
You're cutting out.
Go ahead, Dan. What?
There was definitely audiophile stuff in the 50s. I have old albums from the late 50s where they have, I thought I showed one last week or the week before.
But not rock music.
Not rock,
rock and roll.
Rock music.
Rock and roll for audiophiles, I think, happened with Dire Straits. That was really probably
Pink Floyd.
okay. Yep.
That fucking Dark Side of the Moon record sounds freaking phenomenal. But you're right. It's the late 70s probably where it started with Dire Straits and all that. Because Dire Straits' first album came out in what, 77?
I think so. I'd have to look it up. It was
No,
mid-70s.
79, I say, or 78.
Yeah, his self-titled one?
Yeah, 79. Well, that's when it was popular in 79. I know that.
I thought it came out in 77.
I don't think they did any before.
You agree, Dave, right? It's the first. I mean, that's the record everybody talked about, the Dire Straits record. You know, if you had an audiophile system, that's the one. It was, if you went into a record music store, they had Dire. Look, let's hear the new Dire Straits to try out this new system.
Yeah, and I'm not really a fan of Mark Knopfler.
Huh?
Are you guys fans of Mark Knopfler? You love him?
Yeah, so
Yeah, I like that with him too. I mean,
tweedly dee music to me, man. It's like
I like other types of rock music better than Dire Straits, other rock bands.
He's got great. Mark Knopfler had great freaking chops, but it's like, to me, there's just not like no kick to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you take one note out of Albert Collins and put it up against, Mark Knopfler, and Collins would kill him, right?
Of course. What's it? Cold Snap? Is that album by Knopfler? Oh God, that fucking record.
Yeah, you take Albert Collins. I mean, it's like kabam. I mean, he does one of his little, 2-3 note things where he'll just hit one note, man, with such authority. It's like, whoa, shit, and that's, I like people like that.
Yeah.
I love Hound Dog Taylor, so that's my jam, right?
But in the 70s, I mean, there was a lot of rock groups that were doing it. A band that a lot of people don't really, talk about too much. The T-Birds fucking had it going on in the 70s, in the late 70s. A lot of their shit doing. I mean, people didn't talk about them until the 80s, but there's a lot of records I have of the T-Birds with fucking that are phenomenal blues music.
Do you mean the Fabulous Thunderbirds?
Yeah.
Oh, the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Okay, yeah, I know. I've heard of that.
Yeah, with Jimmy Vaughn, Stevie's brother.
With
Kim Weston. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim Weston.
Yeah. Jimmy, Jimmy underrated, I think, as a guitarist. He played some excellent stuff.
I like his style more than I like Dire Straits.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But Dire Straits to me is just, it's just like, oh man, it's great in the terms of, it's very, very, very well done, and it bores me silly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like the emotion isn't there. I feel the same way I feel about him as I feel about Joe Satriano, Yngwie Malmsteen. You know what I mean?
Well, Eric Johnson is someone who gets me. It's like everybody talks about how great Eric Johnson is, and I have tried to listen to Eric Johnson and enjoy it. And I'm like, yeah, great tone, great chops, and wake me up when it's done.
Yeah, it's just some guys you feel it, and some guys you understand where their head is and where they're getting their ideas, and it just brings like an emotion to you. You feel the fucking energy. It's like it's got a charm to it, and some guys it's just like you're falling asleep. They're great, and their technique is. Clapton is another one I feel the same about that too. I mean, he was great, phenomenal. His technique is second to none, but Clapton's solos put me to sleep.
Yeah, some of them I like. But he had to have somebody there kicking his ass.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that, the only one I listen to is Layla. And I think that's because Dwayne Allman was there kicking his ass all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of sad that he's not even the best fucking guitar player in his own band. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why when people say, that he's one of the best in the world, I'm like, he wasn't even the best in his fucking band. Just don't stop talking. You know what I mean?
And then you listen to the other 70s stuff that he, yes, that's right, Dave. Yeah. Mark did do session work with Dylan. Dylan worked with a whole bunch of people. And Dylan is very appreciative of other artists.
Okay, out of all the four of us here,
Yes.
who has seen the band live?
I have not.
I have not. Fuck. I was hoping one of us would have seen them.
Okay.
Well, they broke up, and
Oh, so
you three were old enough to see them while they were still before they broke up.
Yeah.
But I was, first, I was poor. I was living in Southeast Missouri. No one fucking came down there. People laugh at me because my first concert was the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and people are like, "You're kidding." I'm like, no, but I actually really like them.
You were in law school when the fucking Last Waltz came out.
No, I wasn't.
When did you? Okay,
Later in life.
I graduated from law school. I was in law school 94 to 97. I went
what?
later.
Yeah.
Oh, you went later, but you should have been in regular college in the late 70s.
I was doing a bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my bachelor's in 79, my master's in 82. I worked for 5 years. I did 2 years on the PhD in English, and then worked for 5 more years, and then I went to law school. That's Uncle Dan's biography there.
Who was your first show, Bobby? Who'd you see first?
Me?
Of any band? Yeah.
James Brown in Providence.
Cool, Bobby.
At which theater? Which venue?
What? The Civic Center.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he the only one on the bill? Must have been other bands on the bill.
No, it was him. He was I forget who the fuck opened for him. It was some nobody, but I was young. My dad took me because you asked me my first concert I ever been. Yeah, it was James Brown. I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, damn, man, that's a great first concert.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was still doing fucking splits and shit.
Yeah,
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, in the fucking late 80s, this guy is still doing freaking splits and dancing his ass off. That's
hardest working man in show business.
Show business, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the concert that I regret fucking missing is that I wanted to go see is my dad wanted me to go see Omar on the Hollers with him, but I never got to. I never got to go, and apparently the show was fucking awesome, and I regret not seeing it.
Man, Omar and the Howlers. There are some guys who do some great stuff and don't get enough love.
They're one of them.
They are fucking tough as hell, man.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. My brother introduced me to Omar.
Yeah. Voice. He's got a great voice, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Does some. I mean, does some really good. Hey, do you know Reverend Peyton and his big damn band?
No.
Oh man, he's guy does some kind of Omar stuff.
Yeah.
Even raw. But yeah. Get some Reverend Peyton and his big damn band. Just tough, real down home, real rootsy stuff. I love it, and and speaking of reverends, Reverend Horton Heat, that's pretty fun stuff.
What was the worst concert you guys have ever seen?
The worst?
The worst. Or the most disappointing.
Tribe Called Quest in concert.
Who?
There are Tribe Called Quest. They're a famous rap group in the 90s. Do not see hip hop in concert. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Because the problem is, there are some people that can do it right. There's a band called The Roots that does it right, but The Roots aren't really like that. They have bass, guitar, drums, and then they do their shit too. Or Pharrell, who's basically written every song for everybody that now from the year 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pharrell is, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but he has a band behind him usually when he performs, so he puts on good shows. But it's upsetting when you see people that totally suck. I know this is unpopular fucking, to say, but I saw MJ, when I was little, and he put on a great show. Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he phenomenal. He gives you your fucking money's worth. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good music coming out through like the 70s, freaking in the 80s. This is a good time,
I saw Hot Tuna. That was my first live show with Papa John Creech.
Oh, I have a Papa J. Yeah.
I want to go back. Manny mentioned the Reverend Gary Davis.
Yeah, actually, I have seen him too when I was a camper.
I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah, Roy
Oh,
Bookbinder.
there was one of the freaking gods.
Yeah.
I want to hear the more worst shows that people see. Come on, man.
Chuck Berry doing My Ding-a-Ling.
Here is
The Academy of Music in New York City was the worst show. It was embarrassing. And the whole show was just built up for My Ding-a-Ling. And it was just an embarrassment to see him perform that song in New York City, right? The Lower East Side,
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Hang your head, rock and roll, hang your head in shame. And that was the only time I ever saw him.
Okay, who else? Who's got a worst show that they went to? The worst show?
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Bullshit. You saw Stevie Ray Vaughan and he sucked?
February 11, 1984, Shryock Auditorium, Carbondale, Illinois.
Wow. The
Fucking
Spinner.
blasphemy, man. Really? He was that bad?
Shryock Auditorium is a small venue. It was designed for live theater. And he overdrove it so that the sound was mud, and it was painfully loud. I think he was playing a Dumble, I believe, at that time, and it just
That's too much power for that type of.
you couldn't fucking hear him. You could not hear him.
Yeah.
B.B. King came in about a month later to the same venue, and he was great. The sound was beautiful.
That's a fucking shame.
Yeah, it was just a shame. And, and Stevie was, he was drinking real hard back then. He was not clean.
Dave?
And one of the funny things was almost nobody was there. Let me do
Worst or best?
let me just a bit more on Stevie.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Stevie, this was early on in Stevie's, ascendancy, right? There was almost no one there. I was there with my girlfriend, who later became my wife, Heidi. My fiance at the time, I guess. We were engaged already, but we were there, and I'd gotten really good seats, really up close. And I was like, man, I've heard about this guy. I know about him. He is, and I had one of the, at least I had Texas Flood. I may have had 2 albums. And, oh man, we started moving back from the stage, and then there was a balcony there, and we eventually got up and went into the balcony.
Oh, well, that's tough. I mean, most people would fucking be lucky as hell to see Stevie Ray Vaughan because he died fucking so early.
The only thing that sounded good was he played "The Sky Is Crying," the great Elmore James song, and he dialed it back, and he played that on an I want to say it was an ES 175. He played it on a hollow body. He broke out a hollow body and played it. And he had to dial it back. I mean, he could not have had the gain that he had for his Strats. Because the hollow body would have, freaking exploded, right? I mean, everything would have blown up if he had that much gain on. He played "The Sky Is Crying," and that was beautiful. And if he had just played with that volume throughout, it would have been, I think, great. But he was doing the thing. He was playing behind his head. He was playing behind his back. He took the guitar off and he had it on the strap, in front of him, just bouncing it on the stage. And he was doing that, but it was just so painfully loud. Heidi and I retreated up to the balcony, and it was still, Heidi had her fingers in her ears through most of the concert. And I started doing that too. We did not take a hearing protection. And it was just a shame. And
you don't want to have fucking hearing protection. And when you're going to see a concert,
no,
I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah. I saw Johnny Winter at the Wow Hall and Workers of the World Hall in Eugene, and I took hearing protection. I fucking put it in because Johnny Winter was just blowing that place out.
Mm.
Well,
So that
concerts can be loud, true, yeah.
Yeah, and Johnny was great. I mean, it was a great show. When I put the hearing protection in, I could hear him just fine. And I could still hear him just fine. It was great, but it was too loud. You know, maybe with hearing protection. Although I think that Stevie Ray just turned Shryock in the mud. So
I think Manny's got all of you hands down with Dave Van Ronk and
Oh,
Reverend
yeah.
Davis. So in
I've
terms
heard
of
of
bragging rights,
Don't know his music.
Well, how about John Lee? How about John Lee Hooker first row, and I had my feet on the stage. I was right there. 1987, muddy Mississippi. What is that called? Oh, Mississippi Nights in downtown St. Louis. I'm trying to remember it. Little Ed, not Little Ed, Little Charlie and the Nightcats opened for Hooker that night.
was that Amboy Duke's Black Quicksand, or was he solo by then?
Ken Nugent.
So
He was solo. So, well,
was he?
well, you got
All
this.
right. So Dave, Wyoming Dave, worst concert, best concert, first concert.
Well, I've hardly ever. I went to see Joan Jett and the Blackhearts back when I was 1920. She's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I've barely seen any concerts since then. You know, so when I was a kid, I barely remember this. When I was a kid back in the 70s, my parents probably took me to see maybe Ronnie Millsap. I don't remember that very well. In Imperial, Nebraska. So not very many. You know.
Ronnie Millsap's all right. You know,
That was
that's not a bad concert to go to.
No,
You know, here might be something. You know, there are great ones that I've been to that were just nobodies, right? You know,
sure.
You know, just people you never, you know. I on one of my videos on my channel, I talked about the Yes Yes Boys, which was a little. They did hokum music and early jazz and stuff like that, and they were led by a gal named Del Rey, not Lana Del Rey, but Del Rey on ukulele, and she was just smoking it on ukulele. A guy named Mike Doherty on percussion stuff. Craig Florio, who later ended up with he plays with Tuba Skinny, which I think is a great fucking band. He plays with Tuba Skinny now. But I saw them at a little place. It was called the Bait House in Seattle, and it's gone now, but it was on the REK-O-KUT and the waterway that leads from Puget Sound into Lake Union.
Yeah. Seattle's had a great location for a lot of music and a lot of, you know.
Well, this is a place that, you know, it was called the Bait House because they sold gas and bait. They sold gas for vessels.
Yeah.
You know, and they sold live bait. And they also sold food. They sold sandwiches and stuff like that. And some nights they'd have live jazz there. And I went and saw the Yes Yes Boys there, and they were phenomenal. And it was a great fucking show. And one of the most fun times I've ever had. You know, it's like, man, you know, and you know, you ask anybody, the Yes Yes Boys, and they're like, who? Yeah.
You should have freaking been to Lupo's then, man. You would have fucking loved Lupo's, don't you think, Mike?
It's a great venue.
You've heard of the Beaver Brown band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the guys that did the freaking soundtrack for the Eddie and the Cruisers. That's basically
John Cafferty.
Yeah, that's basically that's basically based off them. They're a Providence band. They were at fucking Lupo's so many damn times. You know, Lupo's had freaking everybody. They had Nirvana played there, freaking Stone Temple Pilots. Just about every rock group was Aerosmith. Fucking everybody went through Lupo's, and like the atmosphere there is just explosive. I mean, it wasn't just like. It's tough to describe. You have to go there. I mean,
it's dinner theater, right? I mean, you get great food, great kitchen, so you could eat there and see a show. So it was very down home, and it was a big enough hall to handle a big size band.
Yeah.
That was great about Lupo's.
There's a fun, here's a little story. There's a fun, shit, I'm blanking on the guy's name. There's a fun venue in Minneapolis. It's actually, I think, in Fridley. Maybe it's still Minneapolis, called Crooner's Supper Club, and it's a supper club, right?
Yeah, sounds like that. Yeah.
And they do live jazz and stuff. And I went there with my buddy Joe Swingley one night, and there was a blues band playing, and who the fuck? Dean Phillips, who is a representative for District 3, U.S. representative for District 3. I'd gotten to know him through my ex-wife, another ex-wife's work, and I'd gotten to know him. And Dean was a real nice guy, and he showed up there, and I saw him. And, hey, Dean, and Dean was there. Dean was there with a young, 20 years younger woman, very beautiful woman. And I was like, yeah, Dean, but Dean was there with that young woman. And during the show, at one point there was a break, and I saw her go up and talk to the band. And then, they came out, and she went up to sing with them.
Really?
And this is going to be disastrous. And she just fucking knocked it out of the park.
Really?
Yeah, she had a great damn voice.
And you're expecting her to be some drunk that just goes up there and fucks up, right?
Dad, you're embarrassing me.
I thought this was the girlfriend of a prominent local politician, right?
Yeah.
Dean Phillips was, House of Reps. I think he may have been running at the time. He may not have won, but he was running, and he's the son of Dear Abby. Dean Phillips, Abby Phillips. He's the son of Dear Abby. So, wealthy, and Phillips Vodka, Phillips Liquors. So I thought this is just a vanity thing. And she went up and she just knocked it out of the park. It was just so fun. So I looked over at Dean. I was like, then I went over to talk to him later. I was like, where the hell does that come from, man? She's petite and everything, and just knocked it out of the park. It was just fun. But things like that are fun, It's like I love stuff like that where just randomly you have this blast, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's like, yeah, I saw a band at a street fair in Cesar, Illinois one time that just was this down home fucking band, playing country and some roots rock. 3-piece band, drums, 2 guitars. The drummer was this middle-aged woman in green fucking sweatpants, and the bulging, or out of the sweatpants. And she had the crudest drum kit I ever saw. There was one tom, which was sitting with the head in the same plane as the kick drum.
So she wasn't hot.
She was not hot, man. And
so that means you wouldn't.
Well, I don't know. I don't drink anymore. You get back when I used to drink.
You don't make bad decisions if you drink.
Yeah.
A couple of years,
Regrettable decisions.
But man, she just fucking killed it. She killed it. And the tom had gray, had duct tape on it. It had been patched with duct tape. She beat the shit out of it. She had one crash cymbal and one hi-hat, had a hi-hat. So tom, kick drum, snare, tom, one beat to hell tom, hi-hat and one crash ride. I can't remember which one. And she killed it, and the 2 guitarists, they killed it, It was just a great freaking show. So much fun. That stuff is like, yeah. I at the time I was like, man, I wish I were rich. I would record these people. I would get them in a studio and say, play every damn thing you know.
Well, it's funny. Like you go to see certain shows, and it's like you see the headliner, and the fucking front runner ends up being better than the headliner. I mean, so sometimes that happens.
Yeah, of course.
Like I told you, I went to see Fiona Apple, and fucking Blake Mills opened up for her, and I ended up liking Blake Mills' show more than Fiona Apple's.
No, I've never heard of Blake Mills.
It was fucking phenomenal. He's a great freaking slide player. He's all over the fucking place now, though. He's trying his chops at jazz now, but great guitar player, great slide guitar player, great tone.
I hate good slide guitar
Look 'em
players.
up.
You listened to him, you liked him, right?
Yeah.
I showed you a few of his videos. He's solid.
I know he's absurdly great. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's disgusting. I fucking hate him. He's so talented.
Yeah.
I went to see Steve Earle, and his sister opened for him, Stacy Earle. And I went there with a buddy of mine, and we got done. We were like, man, we both like Stacy a lot better than Steve.
Stacy Earle.
Yeah, Stacy was a lot better than Steve. I was listening to a lot of her stuff for a while, but she got married and just started recording with her husband. But she was doing stuff, folk country stuff that was really good. But so we haven't gotten around to our topic of audiophile stuff.
No, we have not. Let me start.
Let me ask you. But I brought a show and tell here.
Okay.
Audiophile stuff, and I think Bobby may appreciate this, and Wyoming Dave, you may appreciate it too.
Oh, I see something in the back. That new acquisition. I fucking love it.
Dan purchased a record.
Weathers. That's a Weathers, isn't it?
It is a
No,
record.
no, it's a REK-O-KUT, and this is a Grado Laboratory Series tone arm.
Here, let me.
So a REK-O-KUT T12H from 48 to 55, and
50s. Cool.
yeah, and a Grado Laboratory Series. Look at the size of the motor on that thing.
I love it.
Man, this is my weightlifting for the day. This thing weighs a ton.
There's no electronics. There's just motor and a few wires, and that's it.
How's the speed though? Have you gotten the speed up yet?
Speed's okay. Yeah.
Yeah?
It's cool. Cool, Dan.
Yeah. It was, like I took the platter off, and it was like beautifully lubricated. And you can just you spin it, and it just spins just like a dream, man. So it's a really heavy platter, and it just spins like a dream. So I've ordered a platform for the cartridge. It's missing the platform for a cartridge in there. But
what do you mean by platform for the cartridge?
Well, it does not. Like duals and some Gerards and
have a little piece that comes out and you slide them in or whatever. This one doesn't. It's a surface mount. You have to mount it strictly to the tone arm, right?
No, you mount it to the platform. It's like the sleds that you have on the.
So it's a sled like a duals or
but it screws in instead of just snaps in or something like that. It's got a little screw hole in the top. Yeah. So I've got that ordered, and I've got to rewire it because it was wired for mono.
Okay.
So I got to rewire it, but it's wired for mono. But the speed's fine, and I got to build a plinth for it. It was in a cabinet. I've got the cabinet. Cabinet's beautiful, but it's huge. And
take a big fucking sand table, man, for that bitch. It'll be awesome,
Yeah, I'm thinking about. A lot of guys do the the layered plywood.
Yep.
Where you layer 10 layers of 10 pieces. 10 pieces of plywood. I'm thinking about doing like maybe eight pieces of 1-inch plywood, 1 inch, true 1 inch, or 10 pieces of nominal, not of true, of 3/4 inch.
Let me ask you guys a question. Didn't you guys listen to fucking Casey and the Sunshine Band?
Yeah. Everything by him.
Because I can't seem to find a decent fucking sounding record by any of their things. All their records sound dead and bottomless.
Well, I have a bunch of their 45 records anyway.
They sound okay?
Yeah, but the 45 records sound great by Casey and the Sunshine Band, late 70s.
Mm-hmm. All their LPs that I have. Shut up, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. Today's National Vinyl Record Day.
Hey, Dave, what kind of system are you using? I'm not, I don't mean put you on the spot about anything like expensive, but you seem to appreciate good recordings.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry. I have a Audio Technica turntable I got from Walmart. I'm using right now.
Yeah,
it's an automatic LP20. I forget LP20 or LP6.
Yeah,
I forgot the numbers.
The 60, right?
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that at all, man. It's that is a fine turntable.
People
It
say
works.
you should always get one of those turntables that have the adjustable thing on the back of the new stylus. What's it called?
Counterweight.
The counterweight.
I don't have a counterweight. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have the LP160, the automatic thing. It's not a bad table because it has a pretty damn good cartridge on it. But the thing is, the cartridge on it is the thing that we talked about, the 3600. I mean, that can track from anywhere from 3 to 6 grams, and the table you have tracks towards the higher end.
And sound fine at 2.5. I've done it.
Yeah,
Which
great.
begs the question of the ending of the show: can you be a poor and happy audiophile?
Fucking A, you can. Yes.
Yeah, you can. I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this: if you're going out and buying, if you think you have to buy, $1,000 power cords so you can get cleaner power to your system, you are not a poor audiophile, but you're a dumb audiophile.
Right. Go the route that the fucking all of us here, and likely we're trying to get our channel to let everybody know. Go the used market route. Be nuts like Dan and me. We have fucking 10 turntables. You know what I mean? Because you can do that in the used market. You can pick them up for $20 and they will blow away anything north of fucking $2,000 nowadays. A lot of them will.
Yeah.
Dan, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, fucking right.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly. If you can go out, the one I keep talking about, my Yamaha YPB2.
Yeah.
Belt drive turntable, which has better goddamn specs than a bunch of Macintosh turntables that sell for like $7,500.
Right.
And REK-O won't even
publish their fucking specs, and their speed has never been on. I have never had a REK-O table that has been on or close to on.
And they're not adjustable.
No, I'm not a REK-O fan.
So
But hey, if you like REK-O, I got number love for you. Do your REK-O thing.
Wyoming Dave, if you come to Minnesota, I'll send you home with a nice turntable. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
You're not that far away.
We've only got let's see, South Dakota in between.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Wyoming are you?
Between Riverton, halfway between Yellowstone Park and Casper, Wyoming.
Okay.
That's a fucking beautiful area.
Well, parts of Wyoming are barren, but the
parts are flat and boring.
yeah.
Hey, I'll take anything fucking that's green and has fresh water now. I mean, I'm in the fucking desert. I hate it.
Man, I tell you what, a lot of Wyoming does not have fresh water and is not green. That drive from like Green River into central Wyoming there, it's beautiful, but it is really barren.
Yeah, it has better fucking climate than Vegas.
We get dry desert heat here. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it gets really freaking hot in Wyoming and really freaking cold.
It's really fucking cold in wintertime. Jeez.
Yeah, I think it's not crazy like North Dakota, which is people talk about Minnesota. It's so cold, and it's like, man, we got North Dakota here.
Bobby's from Rhode Island.
He's from Rhode Island. Okay, he's
From
from
Rhode
Island. You've had huge heat, haven't you?
Huh?
Yeah, we had freaking heat wave. It was 115.
Wow.
Well, Bobby lives in Las Vegas right now, right?
Yeah, and it
Oh,
sucks.
geez.
Yeah, I mean the temp high we had was 117, almost hit 118.
Yeah, here it gets pretty hot there. Yeah.
Well, how high does it get in Wyoming?
Yesterday we did get up to 90, but the summers has been pretty. May and June has been pretty, not too cold, not too hot. In spring,
I was there.
I'm not gonna let my fucking records melt. That's the thing too. When it gets hot, even back there, do you guys leave your records in the car during the summer?
Oh, good to God, no.
No, you can't.
no way.
Yeah, because the freaking your car can get up over 100, and if it's hotter than that,
Man, I made that mistake a long time ago. I had a Mahalia Jackson LP, and I left it on my turntable, and left, and the sun came in that afternoon, and it was fucking warped. And
Well, doesn't take long. I mean, I have left mine in for 10 minutes, just like going into the store, and they can warp in 10 minutes. It doesn't take long.
yeah, well, especially in a car. I mean, it can get 120, 140 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, Dan.
Yeah, it's time for Dan to start speaking French.
Yeah.
Could you speak French? Thanks for joining, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nice to meet you, Bobby, too.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man.
No,
Hey, before you, Bobby, I love that video you did last, was it September, October, about the Nautilus and MoFi records. So,
It's I tend to.
I bought an audiophile record.
You did?
I bought an audiophile record. Yeah, Eva Cassidy live at Blues Alley.
Outstanding.
I did too.
oh,
We gotta go.
We gotta go. I bought Miles Davis and Charlie Parker.
Very nice.
I bought a few others. Hey, I got a nice copy of Slim Harpo.
He's blues.
Wow.
Really nice. It sounds really good, although it was not originally recorded all that well. So, but anyway, yeah. Nous disons, nos enfants, nous vous aimons. Vous êtes très jolis. Vous êtes très intelligent. Vous êtes très gentil. Yeah. Nous disons à vous, nos enfants. Au revoir et aussi. À bientôt.